Yeah, I'm drinking cause I'm bored down by behind locked doors, yo. In my head, my head, my head. In my head, my head, my head. Get out of my head, get out of my, get out of my head, get out of my.
And welcome back to the Esports Tower Summer Invitational. I am David Adams, and I'm so excited to be here. First of all, can we take a moment and thank our fantastic hosts for this entire week program, the Doc Haskell and the entire team here at Boise State University. You've been such fantastic hosts, and we appreciate it so very, very much. Again, I am David Adams at the Esports Tower Summer Invitational. We have been having an incredible weekend here at Boise State, going through and learning and developing so many opportunities within esports with Overwatch, Rocket League, Valorant. And we've been learning from these different universities, what their programs are like, what they're looking for in programs. And it's just been a really incredible opportunity for our players. And today is no different. We have a fantastic afternoon planned. We are going to hear from another university and get some incredible information from that. And then we are going to hear from a professional esports general manager and hear what they're thinking at the professional level and what, if you're an Esports Tower player and you're looking to go professional and thinking that way, what does that take? What does that mean? And we'll be talking about more of that as we go along. So first, I am so excited to have everyone here. My are we ready for our guests? Okay. I am great. I just wanted to make sure, because joining us from the University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma, is Esports Director Michael Moog Aguilar. OU is setting a new bar in collegiate esports for Power 5 Conference Division I universities. And Moog, welcome. We are so excited to have you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. So first of all, can you just give us an overview of the OU esports program and what you're doing there and the kind of games that you have, and just give us a little bit of a flavor of what's going on there.
Absolutely. So the Sooner Nation has been developing almost 6 years now with an emphasis on path to industry. What we mean by that is all the logistics that you represent as Esports Tower to put on an event that you're now hosting with Doc Haskell at Boise are also critical to the development of our program, meaning that we need tournament organizers, we need marketeers, we need production people, shoutcasters. As a term that Doc and I share, journalistic practicum is a big component. As an entertainment industry, without the production components, then it has no opportunity for revenue generation, program sustainment. And these are all degrees and disciplines that many of our universities share as opportunities to grow professionals of this industry and take it to the next chapter on top of the highest tiers of competition, cultivating those skill sets and maturing an industry that's going to be here well past our time on this earth.
Great. So what are the games that you have at Oklahoma?
Yeah, so right now we're currently developing 12 different titles, 4 of which are considered, I guess what we would canonically say, our varsity scholarship titles, and then the rest are club, and I'll go over those really quick as that's a pretty long list. Our first 4 scholarship titles right now are League of Legends, Overwatch, Rocket League, and Valorant, and then we also are developing Apex, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Halo, Madden, Rainbow Six, and Super Smash, as well as adding Fortnite back to our list for this year.
Great. That sounds exciting. And did I hear the word scholarships and the Rocket League, Overwatch, and Valorant, which are the game titles that we're playing here this week?
Right. That's correct.
Great. So can you just briefly give us an overview if someone is looking at Oklahoma and playing for a Power 5 Division I school. What is it that you're looking for in a player in that?
Well, one of the biggest keys is that for those that see typical news, whether it be sports or anything in general, these bigger universities don't get any passes in the media, meaning that if we want to cultivate a program that is going to have the standing power that's conducive to the brands that we see on an ESPN, on a New York Times or a Washington Post, we also have to behave and conduct ourselves at the highest tier of professionalism, just on top of the gameplay as well. Schools like OU, schools like a UT and Oklahoma State or Texas Tech or Oregon or these things, we're known for competition. That's what we're known in the traditional athletics realm. However, because of those other additional components of the eyes on our campuses, means that we have to tiptoe around things while we build up and make sure that our students are an extension of the brand that we want to personify. So yes, high tier gameplay, high tier competition is the baseline. That is the standard. That is the component that's not necessarily pushing the agenda forward, it's maintaining it. It is those professional components, those sportsmanlike conduct, that opportunity to further really kind of personify who we are as a culture, subculture, genre, and everything in between that will push this agenda forward into mainstream acceptance.
That's great. I appreciate that, which leads right into the next point. So this week, as we've spoken to different representatives from different universities, showing off different aspects of esports in the collegiate scene, we've been talking about different points from the Esports Tower approach. And as you may know, the Esports Tower approach is the curriculum that we developed with many universities for what are the skills that are important at if you want to play at the next level, if you want to play at the collegiate level, if you want to play at the professional level, quite frankly, if you want to really just be a good member of society with it as well. So the very first point, the first level, the first foundational aspect of it, of the Esports Tower approach, is esports professionalism and sportsmanship. And can you take a little bit of time and talk about what that means to you and the importance and what you think particularly on that topic?
Yeah, I came up with 5 bullet points, so feel free to interject along this kind of build up to the final point. But the first one is that we're coming into an age where the predominance of our students are born into a digital environment. I'm at 40 years old. I completely date myself on stream and have it documented. I'm definitely a boomer in the space as well. But one of the benefits that I had is that through my teenage and early adulthood, social media didn't exist. And the first point I wanted to make is that the digital and your physical reputation are the same. And it's important to understand that how you behave in a LAN environment, how you behave on the social platform, and it's conducive to what we look at in our student bases and reviewing, are they a good steward of what we want to build for OU or what we want to build for this scene? So being responsible and accountable to yourself is critical to the future trajectory of you being a successful professional in this space, whether that be a competitor, whether that be somebody on the logistics side, administrative, whatnot. We have to understand having a good decorum and the ability to personify excellence as well as positive energies. The second is your name is everything. You know, people know me by Moog. That's not my name, it's Mike Aguilar. It's Moog, but that's my personification of it, part of the blending of us moving into kind of a metaverse type of a future of how we digitally interact with each other. But it's still the same as if it was before then. We have to understand that who we are as the brand, the name, the person, our actions, all are definitions of who we are. And they will trail us, just like a resume, just like a, legal processes or anything in between. Third part is you play how you practice. Now, this one is a little bit of a steal off of Doc Haskell, who definitely has a running stream of quotes where it talks about really kind of saying, if you're not practicing at the highest tier, you'll never play at the highest tier. Take every moment that you're developing yourself seriously, and it will exude from you naturally as your muscle memory, as your standard response, as your ability to react and have solutions or responses that are positive and professional in real time, versus a knee-jerk reaction that might produce an emotional response that is beneath you or beneath the brand that you represent.
That's great. We very much appreciate that. Can you give some examples of where some players have particularly succeeded in that area, and maybe a couple examples where you've had to do corrective action with the players?
Sure. And this is actually the perfect fourth point too. So It's a human. We get heated, we get triggered. And dealing with that is part of the weakness of the industry overall when we talk about mental health and psychological services, behavioral sciences. But silence is often louder than anything you can say. So I'm going to reference Call of Duty because it's one of those titles that definitely has a long history of having some toxicity. And 20-year-old title, it's going to breed some things, especially with lack of structure. However, I had a student recently, actually just this last week and a half, who had some old posts before he was involved in OU's program. And again, COD is a club level team. But instead of allowing me to find out through notifications and DMs from third parties, this student took accountability of it and said, yes, I did say those things. This was a different time. This is how I view it now. And through my experience with that student is absolutely how he's changed, unlearned those things, and learned proper responses. That's a perfect example. The worst example came from allowing those things to go unchecked, where we've had students at other universities come and berate us and not us following due process to notify the proper league organizers or tournament organizers to hold them accountable. And they continue to run their mouth, or they continue to kind of breathe this demeaning comments or belittling comments, especially in this scenario was a negative comment towards a coach of ours who was a woman, and unfortunately led to sexist commentary that was very dismissive towards her, and unfortunately put a cloud over it. But we stood behind our coach and we stood behind our team and said, we're not going to behave this way. And this was a situation where the team wanted to react and have a vocal response. And I said, no, let me do my job as a director and do diplomacy between the two departments and two organizations and the tournament organization, and work through that instead of going at each other's throats, which ended up in a scenario where those students at the other university evolved a bit. And that was good because we all want to play in this world. We all want to have this forever, but we have to raise our standards now that we want more opportunity.
Great, great. And did you say that there was a fifth point as well?
Yeah, so the last point, which kind of draws it home for me, is that for those that watch traditional sports, the University of Oklahoma is often in the news for many things, so especially for football. Lately, softball has been crazy. We had a good baseball year, gymnastics, tennis, you name it. We've done really well outside of the conventional college football era or time right now. But this quote is how I close this up, and I think Doc will also appreciate this one too. This comes from Patty Gasso, who is the head coach of OU softball and is the six-time national championship coach. And OU has this doctrine in the OU softball team that's called the championship mindset. And it's not much about winning games. It's a way to live, it's a way to train, and it's a way to treat people. And when you understand that, then nothing will ever really ruffle your feathers. Nothing will ever get underneath your skin because you can lean on your team when you need to vent. You can come together as a team when you need to attack properly, and you can lean on your mentors to be able to help guide you through those things that you may not understand, so you can have proper strategic responses to things and understand that you can move forward even if something seems dire or at a loss. And that really breeds this mentality that is really critical to understanding that failure and loss are only pathways to success. And the sooner that you learn those lessons, the easier the wins do come.
That's great. Well, we very much appreciate you taking the time talking. This really rounds out so much of the experience with here and what we're talking about, and really in what you were just talking about, how the process is the hope and the dream is great, but it's the process that will work towards getting you there and being able to achieve that, and we really appreciate that. So let's just finish up. If someone is interested in the University of Oklahoma and playing esports there and joining and being a part of your program, I would strongly encourage them to look into that. Tell them how they can go about doing that.
Yeah, so across all of our social channels, it's at OU Esports, one word. You can also do esports@ou.edu. And if you're in the Discord for this specific event, I have commented in the OU channels with direct access to our program overview. And you're also welcome to DM me through Discord. All those methods are welcome any time of the day. I'm still a gamer, even though I'm definitely, again, one of the older directors in the space. And I'm still wide awake at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., where my culture is. So.
Great. Well, Moog, I cannot thank you enough for being here and being a part of it. And with the Esports Tower Summer Invitational, we look forward to working with you more in the future with our two programs. And just thanks so much for taking the time today to join us and to talk to us on this very important topic.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. For all my peer coaches there, thanks for supporting this event, and for all the students there, please enjoy yourself because I wish I was you guys now. Like I wish I could go back and be this iteration of what we've helped build, and you will build as the next chapter.
Great. Thank you, Moog. Great. Well, that was fantastic and a great another reminder of the Esports Tower approach and how important esports professionalism and sportsmanship is, which leads us right into our next speaker, which I'm so excited to introduce to you. Matthew Pontef is a former professional esports player who has attained the rare feat of winning a championship as a player, coach, and general manager. An expert in professional player operations, he is responsible for recognizing, recruiting, and nurturing top player talent for E United. Matt also oversees team and player acquisitions for the organization. Matt graduated from Full Sail University with a Bachelor of Science in Entertainment Business and has over 11 years of esports experience with proven knowledge of accelerated growth, business development, and talent acquisition in the industry. Please welcome, give a strong Esports Tower welcome to the General Manager and Vice President of Esports at E United, Burns.
Thank you for the kind introduction, David. Really appreciate it. As stated before, my name is Matthew Potoff. I'm the VP of Esports and General Manager at E United. I was also a former professional Call of Duty player, and that's how I kind of grew into this role. E United was founded in 2016. We have been in League of Legends, we've been in Overwatch, Battle Right, most notably for our Call of Duty run in 2019. We won back-to-back, winning the finals and the Call of Duty World Championship. It was a legendary year for myself and our organization too. Really, my goal here today is to try to cram as much knowledge and experience into this short window that we have, because I look at a lot of you guys and it reminds me of myself trying to aspire to become a professional, player in the space. So, for an icebreaker, I think the parents might enjoy this one too. When I was 14 years old, my dad drove me to my first event in Chicago, and in the semifinals of my first Halo LAN, my teammate left me and went home to basically eat dinner. That was my dad's very first experience of coming to an esports tournament with me. He drove all the way from St. Louis to Chicago, and 20 teams in this tournament finally make it to semifinals, and my teammate just literally dips and goes home. My dad's in the back looking at me, and he's like, "Is this esports?" And unfortunately, it was at that time, but we have grown so much since then. After that tournament, I started competing in local tournaments in St. Louis for both Halo and Call of Duty. I got so good and so talented that they actually stopped telling me to come because I kept winning everything. And this was a way for me to avoid having a minimum wage job. My parents were pressing me about working at a fast food restaurant, working at a car wash, and fortunately I was able to win these local tournaments and would obtain $75, $100, $150 every single weekend, and that was able to pay for my phone bill, my high school lunch money, just extracurricular activities if I wanted to, go out and buy something for myself. So was super fortunate that St. Louis had 2 small gaming arenas where I was able to showcase my skill, earn a little bit of money, and I guess most importantly, as a player, get my parents off of my back so I could just play Call of Duty as much as I wanted. Moving through high school, I found a school called Full Sail University, decided to go there for a web design and development degree. realized that I was not a coder by any means, was the worst coder imaginable, and I don't know why I even went into web design and development. So I switched to entertainment business, graduated in 2013. But the big moment for me at Full Sail was winning a $25,000 Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 free-for-all championship. It's still in my Twitter bio. I've kept it for for 9 years or so. And I gave 90% of that money back to my dad. Was very blessed and fortunate that he was able to help me, co-sign off of my loans. He paid for my apartment. Just overall extremely blessed. So I gave him, after taxes, I think I gave him $14,000 of that. The other $1,000, I bought a Major League Gaming Astro backpack, a A40 headset, a new controller, and my first plane ticket to MLG Dallas in 2013 or 14 for Black Ops 2. I placed 17th through 24th at my first 2 events. Didn't really have the performance that I wanted. Wasn't able to play on main stage, but I kept, just sticking with it. Ended up placing 9th in Black Ops 2, and then I had my big break in Call of Duty Ghost. So after college, moved back home, and with my mom, wanted to save money, gave myself 1 year to really figure this out, and went to UMG Philadelphia and placed 5th. We beat a team called Team Caliber, which had Clayster, Sharp, a whole bunch of like really notable pros on that team, and that was like my first big main stage win. That led to a loser's bracket run. We got 5th place, got my first pro contract, which was Curse Gaming, now known as Team Liquid. I moved to Atlanta for a year and basically lived with my teammates in Atlanta, and it was a fraternity home for gamers, basically. At that time, we didn't really have coaches or managers, so we had a house manager that was in charge of getting groceries, helping us out with, if we needed to go get a haircut, he would potentially drive us there, or he would help drive us to the airport if we were flying to a tournament. And we just didn't really have the resources back then that we do now. So everything was on the players. And I'm sure you guys get into a lot of arguments with your players that can spiral out of controls, but I mean, I can tell you with 4, hot-headed Call of Duty teammates inside of a basement after winning or losing, we had some crazy conversations. And you can only imagine that after you lose a big match, you go upstairs, and then at 12 in the morning, you go downstairs to make a sandwich, and your teammate that you just argued with is also making a sandwich in the kitchen, and it's like, hey, how's it going? There's literally like no break at all. So that was a very fun experience. During that year under Curse, that was my most consistent year as a Call of Duty professional. I placed 4th at MLG Anaheim. I placed top 8 at probably 3 or 4 more of those events, and unfortunately got cut, moved back home, and I went on to play for 14 more organizations. Was basically playing with every single pickup team, organization that just needed a fill-in player. I was never like the best, but I was able to attain that professional title, and I just made the best work with what I had. There's sometimes a lot of player politics. There's, certain attributes that come with just aspiring to be a pro. So did the best that I could. I played after Ghost, Advanced Warfare professionally, and then 7 months of Black Ops 3. In Advanced Warfare, I placed 5th at Call of Duty Champs. That was one of my biggest moments in a team environment. We won $70,000 that weekend. So after my cut, it was like $10,000 because we won it in California and they stole all of our money from taxes. It was a disaster. I could not believe it when I got my check in the mail that they took like $8,000 that I was supposed to have. Black Ops 3, moving forward into that, played for Cloud9 for one event, played for Rise Gaming, if you've heard of them, and then some other, smaller organizations. Unfortunately, the fall of my career, I was playing a best of 7 to get back into the Pro League. We were basically like the next best team to get back into the Pro League because it was so competitive at the time. We were up 3-0, and the other team reverse swept us. They won 4 straight maps. I cannot relay enough how depressing and miserable that was. It was one of the most painful experiences to go through as a professional player, but in that moment, looking back at it, Apathy, who was on my team, went on to win the Call of Duty World Champs in Black Ops 3 under Team Envious. Merc went on to become a caster and a streamer, and he's super successful. I ended up transitioning into coaching, and our 4th teammate, Study, kept playing, but now he is also a shoutcaster for the Call of Duty League. So even though we failed in that moment, all of us kind of, it was almost like meant to happen. Like, we went on to do big and better things. So currently, played with E United, my very last event, became a coach. We won a major in 2017, MLG Atlanta. And then I was promoted to general manager, and then that's when we won those 2 big titles in 2019. And as stated before, right now I recruit talent, I look over the talent, I run our day-to-day operations at E United, I handle partnership calls, I travel with all of my players, been to Europe, 6 or 7 times, been to Germany. Great, love Germany so much. But that's really the best perks of gaming. When you get to that level, you get to basically travel for free. It's by far the best perk once you obtain that level. And yeah, that's really my story. I feel what you guys have here at Esports Tower is so beneficial, and I really hope you guys are taking the time to soak in the knowledge that you guys have, because once again, we didn't really have this back in the day. There was maybe one coach in the Call of Duty scene that was known for giving their team advice or trying to keep them level-headed. It was all on the players back in the day. Now you guys really do have the opportunity to listen to ex-pros that have been in your shoes. They're trying to give back and give you guys structure and guidance and learn how to communicate, learn how to take criticism, learn how to be a leader, learn how to show up on time for practice. That's like the one thing that my players do sometimes. I'm like, guys, you're getting paid to play. How can, don't sleep in until 6 p.m. It's unbelievable. But yeah, you guys really do have a great opportunity here, and you guys are learning a lot. Was able to kind of just eavesdrop in and watch some of your guys' matches, and you guys are extremely talented. I can't play Rocket League to save my life. We have a Rocket League team now. What you guys do, aerials, kick, flip resets, all of that jazz, I can't even comprehend how talented some of you guys are. Same with Valorant and Overwatch 2. Super team dynamic games. You have to be on point at all times. Solo plays are sometimes needed, but you're really not going to do anything by yourself. And I know your coaches have been really installing those fundamental characteristics into your gameplay. So I really wanted to leave the rest open to you guys. Didn't want to talk too much about myself. I was hoping to really go in depth and answer any questions that you have about aspiring to become a professional, maybe jobs that are available in the industry. Really just want to help as much as I can, and really appreciate you guys having me out here. Current state of Call of Duty and Warzone. I would say that it's declined a tad due to franchising. That's just my personal opinion. I feel there's not enough opportunities for amateur players in the Call of Duty scene to really showcase what they're about because it is a limited amount of teams competing now. When we were in Call of Duty, 250 teams would show up. So that's over 1,000 players competing to be on main stage. Now you only have, basically less than 100 at a time. So overall, though, Call of Duty, one of the most popular games on the planet. A lot of people from Call of Duty have worked their way up into really cool spots. You have Nade Shot at 100 Thieves. You have Hastro, who runs Envious, and Hex at Optic. Scump is a freaking legend, and he's been playing for 10 or 12 years now. So I think with a new title coming out in Call of Duty every year, it really gave us the characteristics to adapt to certain situations. So whether I'm working with my Halo team or my Rocket League team or a PC team, I'm really able to help adapt and figure out solutions for them. So the question was transitioning from, a player to a coach and manager. I will tell you that watching is terrible. You have no control over the outcome. Basically, just as Mood was talking about before, my goal as a manager and a coach is to just instill good practice, good habits, and let the rest happen. It took me a long time as a player to realize, I did have like nervous issues. I would get nervous before some big matches my first year or so. And it was a problem. It affected my gameplay. I hesitated a lot instead of being able to just kind of be in that flow moment. And I just told myself, as cliche and standard as I'm about to say this, I just saw a pro hockey player say it, and it just clicked with me, is that you just go out there, do your best. You win or you lose. If you lose, it's because the other team outplayed you. So your goal is just to build really good secondary habits through practice. Go out there, compete, and do what you need to do as instilling that confidence into a player from a coach perspective. And to go into a little bit more detail, I view there are like 3 different coaches at the pro level. You have teams that are so talented and good that you almost don't even want to mess up what they're doing. Sometimes those are honeymoon phases, sometimes that's a short stint, but at that time, you're really just like organizing what's already working. So I kind of consider that just like a pure organization. You're just booking flights, you're helping guide some small conversations, and you're letting the players do what they do best. Then you have an emotional coach. I have players that sometimes rage. They're just completely out of control. They have a hard time working with their teammates, depending on a new player that we pick up. So I might have to recruit a coach that's really good at getting my teammates or my players to meet in the middle. And that's usually a former pro. Not in all cases. I have usually tried to recruit former professionals only, because players resonate extremely well with someone that's been in their shoes before. But to counter that, there's been some fantastic coaches in the esports industry at the pro level who have zero pro knowledge, and they have done some amazing things just from their own structure and style. And then the third is strategic, having someone that's really implementing game plans, breakouts, strategies, counter strats, looking at basically optimizing the team in the best way possible for the players, because they can't really see the picture themselves. They just want to go out there and do what's best.
So we got 2 mics now. We're a little more powerful in this room. I actually have a good question for you. So something I always think about that differs from traditional sports is when teams struggle. You mentioned how you jumped around teams a lot. When players struggle, they'll put LFT in their bios, looking for coach. They'll put a period as their name, like go offline pretty much. Is that something that needs to change, so esports can come back up to its prime, number one, finally take down sports as the big bad media conglomerate that it is? Or is that something that's just going to be there forever? Is that just the nature of gamers?
There's obviously a lot of trolls out there. I mean, it's just the gaming community. Like, you're going to get it no matter what. But I will say, in order to unlock like that next tier of yourself, like if you're really looking to go pro, just staying professional at all times, like learning how to deal with losses in a positive way. Once again, I know this sounds cliche, and maybe your parents or even coaches are saying it, but it is so, so crucial. When I recruit players, I go back and look at their social media. I research things that they were saying. Even if there was the smallest rumor about a player, I will go back and talk to their former coaches, their players, and that's kind of how I do my own background check to make sure that these players are, one, professional, they're going to be compatible with E United and the way that I run my teams, and most importantly, can work in a team environment. So it is really important. Just kind of staying level-headed. We all rage. Like, I was playing Halo Infinite earlier up here and got no-scoped. I'm obviously not happy about that. It's funny because I tell my players all the time, like, hey, like, don't get upset. Don't, go crazy when things don't go your way. And then I'll stream as a 30-year-old now, and something goes wrong, and I have to, like, really just bite the bullet and not do anything, because if I'm preaching something to my players, I need to respect that too.
Yeah, maybe my teammates just run away from me. But so Pando's got a question here too.
Yeah. So as someone who is freshly out of high school, looking at college or pro like options, I kind of wanted to go back to how you're talking about you and your teammates, like jobs you found post like career. So I was wondering, because in esports you retire really early. I was wondering what kind of jobs have good overlap in like the esports path, I guess.
Yeah, is it cool if I kind of talk about the structure of E United and how some other organizations operate? Does that work? Cool. So currently, from a structure level, you have CEO and any C-level employees, and then I'm right underneath at the VP level, and then you have general manager, coaches, players from the competitive side. Adjacent to that, you have director of marketing, you have creative directors, you have production, casters, data analysts, you have event coordinators. I mean, there are some organizations that hire people out just to book flights, schedule media times for their players, and get them what they need on a daily and weekly basis. Unfortunately for me, I do so much at E United that I'm kind of stuck doing a lot of roles. Something that I forgot to say in my speech, once again, I didn't have a manager or coach back in the day. So now that I'm in this position where I can help my players out, I go and grab waters. I grab food. I let them put what food they want on Uber Eats. They pass my phone around. I go outside in the rain. I grab it. I bring it back, even if it's a mile away. I basically do whatever I can so my players can focus on the game, and they have no excuses not to perform or put their best foot out there, because I'm going out there trying to do all the dirty work. So just going above and beyond like your job description, regardless of the role, just putting yourself out there, doing the extra, regardless if it's a social media manager. You can get your one post in a day on Twitter, or you can continue to do Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, ask players what they want on their social feeds. There's so many different ways to just give a little bit extra.
My name is Arctic, and I heard you mention St. Louis. I'm guessing you're from St. Louis. Yep. I am also from St. Louis. And I was going to mention you were able to find local tournaments in St. Louis when you were playing. For me, it is really hard to find local tournaments for Valorant. And I was wondering if there was if you had any advice on trying to find local tournaments in any other city for other people.
Yeah, it's a good question. Unfortunately, the two gaming spaces that were in St. Louis are no longer around. They're kind of extinct. I will say, just continue to take advantage of online. Everyone talks about it, like if you work your way up the leaderboards, if you're able to go into, I'm sure you've seen like Pittsburgh Knights has those monthly tournaments. And then there's even smaller open tournaments that are available. Putting together good teams and just continuing to play in them, get experience, get good reps, like that's the fastest way that you're going to become noticed. Rocket League, same thing. The pros play with individuals that work their way up the leaderboards. You start to get in that circle where you're playing with extremely talented, like, supersonic legend players, and pro teams will usually give them a tryout, and that kind of leads to a next step. It takes time too. I played LANs from the ages of 14 until 18. I went to school for 3 years, and then I went pro at 22, 23. So, what you guys are learning now, like, don't expect just to become a pro like that. It really does take time. It takes, looking at your own footage, being open to criticism. It's so critical and key.
So this is a Rocket League question. So in the upcoming scene for Rocket League, how is United's team preparing for it? Are you guys looking at roster changes? Are you doing different practice times? How is that going to work out for you guys?
Yeah, so for Rocket League right now, we're in the middle of a pretty big off season. I gave all of my players the option to basically get out of their contracts and go explore as unrestricted free agents. We didn't perform that well in the last season, so I wanted to give them that option to go out there and explore. Right now we are running with Savvy, Seal, and then we have Ajax on our team, and we're playing with one more player who I can't say just for the sake of keeping it confidential. But when we first got into Rocket League, we qualified for Worlds in 2019. I was able to go to Madrid, Spain for that. We placed 9th or 12th. It was one of our biggest moments in Rocket League that we've had as an organization. Since then, we haven't been able to really capitalize and figure out a good way to stay consistent. They opened up the door to basically where everyone can compete in these RLCS tournaments, which is great, but it also opens the door for a ton of upsets. And if you're not able to stay at that floor where you can continue to beat teams underneath you, you can, fall into like a top 20, top 16 placing, which is what we fell into this past year, which is why we're running trials now and getting ready for October after Worlds. And I think it's in August or September in Dallas. So, I know the new season's supposed to start in October. Really excited about that.
So I actually have a question about that. You see a lot of teams like Space Station, Team Liquid, investing in really young players for Rocket League. The average age for a Rocket League pro now is like 17 or 18 years old. Is that something that you guys are doing as well, or are you guys taking a different approach and looking for a more mature roster?
Yeah, on previous teams, when we were very aggressive in esports, I had academy teams of younger talent, specifically in Call of Duty, like Simp, and Celium and Illy were all on the cadets roster, for example, in COD. And then we were able to plug them into the pro team when I wanted to make a change, because it's great to have those players available instead of going out there and searching for it. Specifically in Rocket League, we had Wonder Mike. He's 16 years old, super talented, super cool kid. We have taken shots on some really young individuals. And unfortunately, some of those for E United haven't worked out, but for SSG, they have Daniel. He's a stud, 15 years old, and is already placing second and third at some of these really big majors. So I think that really comes down to, one, the talent of the individual at that age, and the system that they're plugging them into. I'm really good friends with Reddles from SSG. And he's a great leader, in my opinion. Great communication skills, great leadership skills. I know he has like his own YouTube series where, he kind of shares their communication, and that's like free education for everyone in Rocket League. It's just so fun to go in there and see how they're talking to one another, and then kind of reciprocate that into what your coaches are telling you to do at Esports Tower, and kind of build that into your own plan and program.
So where are these kids coming from? They're coming out of nowhere, and they're just absolutely dominating the scene. How do you find them?
Yeah, I think players talk. When you're at the pro level, players really do. They're like, oh, like this kid's next up, or you should pay attention to this kid. I played him in ranked, and he was really, really good. I mean, that's literally how it starts. So just having one good showing against a pro in a ranked match where anyone can play will get your name out there, and will give you an opportunity to potentially be talked about in a management meeting. I mean, we get in pickles sometimes where everyone's locked up. We have to go out there and search in the amateur community on what player is going to fill that role, regardless if it's Valorant, Overwatch, Rocket League. And it really does come down to players saying like, hey, like this guy performed really well against me multiple times in ranked. I think if we gave him the right resources, if we brought him structure, he could end up being really good. And that's when you take a shot, and it's either you end up performing or you're consistent enough to stay there and you need a little bit of improvement. But I would say for the most part, when you plug a new player in, you know if it's going to work or not within like the first week of practice or so.
I have another question. So for someone that's trying to go pro, would you recommend them going to the collegiate Rocket League, as in college Rocket League, or try and get themselves in the pro scene?
I think, so I obviously went to school first before going pro. It was important for me to have a degree to fall back on in case going pro didn't work out. I am a firm believer that everyone has their own path, and it really doesn't matter what age you are. You can really pursue anything at your own discretion. If stability and having a safety plan is important for you, then going to school first is most likely the call to make. And during that period, at a university, you still get to work with great teammates. You still get to work with great coaches. You're basically honing your abilities to be ready for pro instead of just jumping straight there. For a player like Daniel, for example, he's 15, went pro. If going pro like didn't work out for him, some of these players do have like very just short time links in the pro scene, and then they never find a way to like really rebound because they hit that high. Going through collegiate, you're able to really build the skills and characteristics and intangibles that you need to be fully prepared. Like anything that comes your way when you're 21, 22, just going into the pro scene, you're going to be mature and ready for any situation or obstacle.
Hello, I'm Mango. I'm also from St. Louis. And I was just wondering, did you have any mental issues along the way of trying to just live life? And I was wondering how you dealt with them.
Great question. I did get burnt out. I actually deal with anxiety issues still to today. I have balanced that. Once again, you guys have probably heard it from 18 different people this weekend, and any person that you talk to at the pro level is going to tell you it. Just going outside, taking a walk, going to the gym, eating healthy, communicating, finding people that have similar issues and just talking to them about it really helped me. My anxiety got so bad, I was like scared to get on a plane. And this was after I went pro. So I've been on like hundreds of flights, and my anxiety got to such a level that I was just borderline shaking to get on a plane. Like I just didn't want to do anything at all. And fortunately, my wife was able to help me, my girlfriend back in the day. And it was a very tough time, but just going outside, getting fresh air, bringing balance, and figuring out a way to not go all in really helped me. So, you guys might not be experiencing some of these issues today, but you have the ability to instill just a little bit of organization into your life that will help balance the grind, because esports really is a grind. Where some of us can sit at a desk and play from 11 a.m. until 4 in the morning. I used to be able to do that. I can't anymore. My thumbs don't work like they used to. But that's just a part of what esports is. So make sure, take breaks after 2 hours, go outside, just get your head off of the game. take some time to go eat, at the dinner table with your family instead of playing upstairs. Like, just take those steps to try to bring balance to your life in whatever way you think you can, whether it's reading, going outside, eating healthy. It really does make a difference. Yep.
Come on up.
My name is Minnie, and I was wondering, like, if you're placing in tournaments and still, like, are not getting recognized by orgs, what's the best way to do that? And if you are looking for a job in an org, what is the best way to contact them?
Great question. Looking for a job to start. Most of our graphic designers have just been individuals who really showed, they just kept tweeting us like, hey, like, this is what I'm capable of doing, for example. And over time, you just start to recognize some people that really want it. They're being very persistent. They're not being annoying, but they're being like professional about it. They're, I'm sure you see on social media all the time, like these video editors and graphic designers will build headers or profile pics of their favorite players or content creators. And some of those individuals end up getting a job from a content creator or from an org because they're like, hey, like, this guy's doing good work. He's passionate about our brand, and let's give him a shot. Same thing on the business side. It's a little bit harder, I would say, because on the creative, you can just display all of your cool work on social media. On the business and marketing side, you have to talk to people. You have to get out there. You have to network. You can't be afraid to go introduce yourself. I have that problem too. It's definitely can be awkward sometimes, but just taking the time to say, hey, how's it going? My name's this. I'm really interested in working in esports. Whatever it might be, sometimes you might strike someone who is looking for someone that's young and eager, and that leads to an email and an opportunity. And even if nothing works out, I have always fallen back on those individuals as like reserves and backup plans. And 6 months later, I'll be like, hey, like, how's it going? What are you are you still looking for a job? And that leads to another discussion, which could lead to an internship, which leads to a full-time position at some of these companies. That's kind of the way I see it in esports, at least. I know, can you repeat the pro question? Oh, it's getting recognized by orgs as a pro, right? Yeah. So from a completely transparent view, I think there's two ways, really. One is the content creation side, where you see these players that might want to just focus on streaming, and general managers like myself see value in someone that has that spark or ability to become a content creator. On the pro player side, sorry, I don't know. On the pro player side, it's really just about your placings, focusing on your ability to consistently play at a top level. That's really the way that I see it. If you're able to do those two things, good placings, you're consistent, and you have a great attitude, and all these intangibles that we're talking about, that really does lead to notoriety and, you know, recruitment from the pro player side.
What are the kinds of people that really fit well in a full-time esports position? I'm lucky enough to have found David and the rest of the team. I'm a gamer. I fit well with this company. I feel like I do. What kind of people do you look for when they're reaching out to you for United? What isn't a good fit, and what is a good fit?
I think I'm the best boss ever at United. I let anyone do what they want. We talk about things as a team, and I give everyone trust to do what they need to do. So my social media manager rarely comes to me for like, hey, is this tweet okay? I let them tweet whatever they think is gonna do well from an impression and engagement standpoint. Same with you know, marketing. I really just try to give my staff members their freedom to do what they want, and we make decisions together. I really enjoy people who, one, bring good ideas. They have a strong work ethic. They really care about what they're doing. And most importantly, they can take criticism well. And a conversation can be built without it leading into an argument, where there's a way for you to maybe give up a little to compromise and meet someone else in the middle, depending on that idea or a plan or an activation. It's so critical and key at my level, at least, since we're a pretty small team. Any other questions? I'm ready for them. We got Chipotle catering here soon too. We got to get excited.
You guys got to earn the Chipotle. I'm not just going to give it to you.
My name's Ame. I've got a very important, serious question here. And what is your favorite thing to order at Chipotle?
Brown rice, pinto beans, chicken and steak, half and half, mild sauce, which is also pico, a little bit of cheese, sour cream, every single time. I don't change it. I eat Chipotle every day, as you can tell. I was ready for that question. I really was.
All right, this is another food question. People say that this is overrated. What's your opinion on Raising Cane's?
I love Raising Cane's. Oh, we're going fast food now. I love Raising Cane's. I still can't decide if it's Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's, like, in my opinion, are sometimes on the same level. But Popeyes is my ideal. Like, if you get the right Popeyes sandwich, it can be a 10 out of 10, you know.
Okay, I'm from St. Louis also. I'm from St. Louis. Okay, thoughts on McAllister's?
Oh,
Have you
we're
had
really
Arctic?
fast food. McAllister's is great. Mac and cheese is good. It's amazing. We have so many people from the Midwest here. Any esports questions? Any esports questions? Oh, Arctic's over there ready for one.
Yeah, hey.
I'm sorry, Hydro. I'm sorry.
I'm Devin. I was just wondering, like, whenever you were, like, as a coach, especially, like, in Call of Duty, it's kind of, like, infamous for this. Like, one of your players getting tilted or, like, just conflict between players. How do you go about resolving that?
So we have dealt with some like really painful losses at the pro level. So like after matches are over, for example, like if we we lose in a winners bracket and we have to play our losers bracket match it next, my guys are extremely tilted. We usually just give them their space for 5-6 minutes, let them kind of think about what has happened, and then it's really up to the coach and the individual to really come together and figure out a way to like reignite that spark and get ready for like a losers bracket run match. I think at the top level, you see these teams that are consistently performing and placing top 2. Their communication is amazing. To me, it's like an art. It's the wavelengths are just like this. They get hyped when they need to, but they're not getting tilted. They're not letting their anger be showcased in the communication. If you're telling your teammates that they need to regain, you're probably losing that match. I mean, that's just how I look at it. If you're saying don't tilt, probably losing that game. Everyone needs to just be in one sync, one motion, communicating at that standard level that is acceptable to you and your own standards. To go a little bit more in depth into comms. Scrimmages for my players. I don't expect them to go 100%. I expect them to go 90%. I expect 100% to come out when we are playing on match day. So the 90% is their floor. Like I tell them they need to find their floor, like what they think is appropriate for them to bring their best. Because, you know, when you're in a scrim and you get a 3-piece or a 4-piece, it's hard to just jump out of your chair and, you know, you're not going to be doing that unless it's for a match for $20,000 or $5,000. So it's kind of unrealistic to just bring like your full-blown self to scrims, in my opinion, just being realistic. But you need to be very, very close. If you're at 50% and you're coming to scrims and you're not communicating, you sound dry, you just sound like you don't want to be there, it's a waste. I usually just end practice immediately, and my players know it. Like, if I'm away from Discord and I can hear them from the other room, it's a great sign. If I can't and they just sound like they have no energy in them, I will literally ask them, like, do you guys even want to be here? And we will talk and cancel that scrim, because I also don't want to waste our opponent's time either. They're not getting good practice if my players aren't putting effort into their scrims. So yeah, hope that helps answer. I go on tangents sometimes. I apologize.
I'm Mathesy, and around like how many hours did you have like played before you joined your first professional org?
I played daily. I mean, I was playing 8 hours a day. Love video games, great escape. I just love Call of Duty and first-person shooters in general. It's a great way to get my mind off things, and once again, that just led to me realizing that I was good. So to answer your question, 7 to 8 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. And that goes back to me stating that I wish I would have taken like 1 or 2 days off a week for myself, because if you do that so long for so many years, you do burn out. Without question, it becomes a chore to get on at the professional level instead of feeling that excitement when a game first drops and you can just play it for hours and hours and hours and hours. It starts to feel like a chore. So you really do need to take breaks and figure out a way to balance your schedule out.
Hello, my name is Judge. Have you ever considered going back into esports or going into another esport? And also, have you ever considered picking up a 2.5 Widow one trick in Overwatch?
I'm guessing that's Judge.
Yep. Maybe. We don't know. That's coincidental, maybe.
I've thought about going back, but some players, I mean, some people can do it. You know, I just feel once you're a pro and then you take like 4 to 5 months off, and the next wave of kids come up and take your spot, it is so hard to go back into that routine and that schedule once you have transitioned into the coaching role. So just another point to really like soak it all in, like even as an amateur player, like these are the times where, you know, you're in the passion pit, talking trash, having fun, building chemistry. It's not always going to be like this. So take advantage of every single day and make sure to get something out of it. At the pro level, to help you, once again, a tangent, I work with my coaches to set daily and weekly goals for my players and my team. And then every 2 months, we will kind of reconvene and see if we're making progress on some of those points. I have all my players be super transparent with one another. They give 3 pros, 3 cons. If, you know, those cons are matching up between 2 out of the 4 or 3 out of the 5 teammates, then I mark that as something that they really need to work on. And then we take, you know, 1 to 2 month steps to try to focus in on that. Usually it comes down to communication, people having attitude issues. They're potentially just not putting in extra. Maybe they're not communicating enough in terms of like critical thinking, like things that can actually help the team. Those are kind of some of the stuff that we try to get our players to work on.
Hi, and I'm sorry if someone asked this question already. I had to step out previously. I guess I have a multi-part question about being a professional athlete. First is just what is the range of pay for a professional athlete, and how much of that is salary versus earnings for a tournament? The second is how many hours do you expect your pros to practice when they're signed? And then third is what do you see as being the average lifetime of being a professional esports athlete?
Great. I have the worst short-term memory issues, so I will try to hit all 3 of those. Salaries. I've worked with players that make $750 a month all the way up to $30,000 a month, depending on the game. You can probably guess the game, like League of Legends, for example, it's the pinnacle of esports, in my opinion. Some of those, hey, it's been around for a while. All right, we won't get to that topic. It's been around for a long time, and some of the players there, like the buyouts, are millions of dollars for some of these players. So those guys earn a pretty good chunk of change. Call of Duty players range from 5,000 to 25,000, depending on the player. I think most like franchise and top games have that range of like the bare minimum of pros to the cream of the crop. But I mean, they're making a livable income in their craft at the ages of 16 all the way up to 24 to 25. Can you ask the second question again? There goes my short-term memory.
How much time do they spend
Thank you.
Yep. At that?
So my guys scrim from usually 4 to 5 p.m. until 9 to 10. And then we try to watch 1 hour either before or after scrims of film footage. So it's basically a full-time job in the afternoons. Not many professional teams play in the mornings. We have tried really hard over the years to get these players to wake up earlier to scrim, but it's impossible. I mean, we've been trying it for 6 years now, and the best we've been able to do is online, at least, usually around like 1 or 2. And then you would play until 5 or 6, you take your break, go eat dinner, and then you come back for film. But some of these players, they just want to keep playing. They'll play 8s, they'll play wagers, they'll continue to play ranked, and that's just who they are. They're just so engulfed in what they do. They want to keep putting those extra hours in. I have some players that just show up for scrims and they get off. And that's their way of that's how they get their quality of practice and also bring balance to their life, because they've realized that playing another 2 or 3 hours isn't doing any good for them.
So you mentioned in 2019, E United had a great year as an org in general, not just one esport. Do you think that is a coincidence, or do you think the org kind of runs off of each other? Success from one game also translates to another.
Yeah, I guess talking about our history, in 2017 in Overwatch, we won Season 0 contenders in Europe. We had Cruz on our team. We had Boombox and a few others. Then we won a world championship in Smite in 2018. And then that led to our world championship win in COD. I think this is all before COVID. COVID was just demoralizing to every factor of our lives. I mean, as soon as after 2019 hit, Call of Duty franchise, we didn't get in. And it cost $25 million to get into, which is a pretty hefty price tag. And then COVID hit. So we kind of had to reapproach the way we look at esports a little bit. We started really operating more in a nimble fashion to ensure that our investment was appropriate and made sense. And that's why we're in our current title, is because one, we believe in the growth of it. We have a great relationship with the developers, and we're finding out a way to actually hit an ROI instead of just throwing money in hopes that your team is going to win, or in hopes that some random 6-figure sponsorship is just going to come knocking at the door, because esports is pretty saturated right now. There's hundreds of esports organizations. You really have to make yourself unique and stand out to, get some of those bigger deals.
All right. So, in competitive games, there's ranked, and how would you say that do you have any advice to give our players more motivation to keep playing ranked? Because we obviously love ranked, and it's totally not hard at all. I mean,
yeah, it's tilting though sometimes, probably, right? Yeah, because your teammates. Yeah, just a little bit. So I mean, when I was 17, I also had, I had to put, a sticky note on my monitor, and I put "Don't rage." I mean, that's literally what I had to do in order for me to not to try to control myself, because when I played, you know, ranked or game battles and something didn't go my way, I would get really frustrated. That helped me. It was a visible reminder right there at the top right of my screen to not rage. It wasn't an overnight success, but over months of looking at that, I got better at controlling my anger when things weren't going my way. And I realized that that started to benefit me in the long run. I had more of a mental fortitude to be more strategic in the moment instead of getting angry and shutting down. It really helped me from that amateur to pro level. That really helped me. My biggest mistakes as a pro was not going back and watching myself play. I had my own ego that I thought what I was doing was the best. And unfortunately, even though I thought that at the time, and I was placing top 8 or top 6 at some events thinking what I do is the best way, that's not the right way to look at it. I should have looked at the way other people approached the game and went back and watched myself play. That's probably the best advice I could give any of you guys too.
Hi, I'm Prestige. I play Valorant, and following VCT and the publicity of this relatively new game, piggybacking off the salary question earlier, how do you think the salary to earnings ratio stands right now, currently, and how do you think it'll prove in the future?
I think those players are making bank right now. I mean, when we got into Valorant, I had Scourge, who he's on Complexity right now. I had, who else did I have? I had basically Kansas City Pioneers picked up my team after we got out. And unfortunately, I feel really bad. I can't remember. The salaries in Valorant are huge because all of the players from Counter-Strike came back into Valorant. And Counter-Strike salaries were out of control. Those guys were making a lot of money doing what they do. Once again, that's another esport that's just cream of the crop. It's been here for almost 10 years. So those players expected the same salaries in a new game like Valorant, and all of the new players like yourselves that got into that pro level expected the same on what their former players are making. You know, you have Shroud, who just got announced by Sentinels. How much do you think that deal is? Like, the guy's probably making a lot of money. Tens, he got bought out from Cloud9 for $1 million. It's a 7-figure deal. That guy's probably making really good money. I think it's great for the players now. I look at it from both sides, but I think it's hurting the business a little bit. For, you know, I'll be transparent. E United, I consider us like an upper tier 2 organization. We're not at the same level as Cloud9 or 100 Thieves or FaZe, for example, but we're knocking on the door if a few things go our way. So for a tier 2 org, we can't even comprehend paying some of those salaries. It makes no sense for at least us. Other organizations, they might want to put all their eggs into Valorant and pay those salaries to be competitive. But it really just goes to what the business is and what you're trying to get out of it. Valorant, in my opinion, like one tweet, anything Valorant related gets thousands of, you know, just look at the way Sentinels run their social media. It's really good for Valorant. You know, they did like the pool party whenever they got knocked out, like fantastic stuff. They're able to like really capitalize on the assets that they have. And that's, in my opinion, what's making Valorant so popular is all of the players are, I mean, they're tweeting mid-match. Like after they win or lose, they're literally tweeting about what went wrong or talking trash to another player. It's hilarious, and it keeps everyone really focused on the game. Hi, Hydra. I'm sorry about that
I didn't
earlier.
introduce myself. I'm Zydra. Third question, final question. So do you encourage your players specifically to have a fallback plan? I know, for instance, I believe Northwood, they have pro players for their college, and they're allowing their guys to go to college and have that plan, get a degree. Are you allowing that? And if so, are you directly contributing to that? Like, are you encouraging it? Are you helping them out in certain ways and aspects? Are you reaching out to other kind of organizations? And yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think at the pro level, my job is to really focus on the team in the moment and them winning, and me doing whatever is possible to give them the resources and tools and time that they need to succeed. Now, afterwards, if a player were to come to me and state that, hey, I'm probably going to retire or I'm going to look at a different option, I do use every ounce of my being to network and get them an introduction or figure out a way that's going to help them in the long run, because I want to see our players succeed no matter what they do in life or where they decide to go. I will say, like, currently right now, we don't have like that option where they can potentially like go to school and, or, you know, like E United would pay for their school, for example. But I have a PUBG player, Snakers. He's in school and plays. He's able to balance it extremely good. And I mean, I give him huge props. Like, he is going to college while pursuing professional play. He's making a salary from us, and he's still traveling. I think that lifestyle is only school and pro play, though. It's probably nothing else, because of just how hectic those two, you know, dynamics are together.
All right, we have time for one more fantastic question. This one needs to be the best question of the night. Step on up, Arctic.
So, on this topic, I want your opinion. For example, Sentinel's Dapper. What is your opinion on BM?
On Bad Manner, right? Is that, yeah, okay. Wasn't that Zoms who did that with South? Okay. Okay, yeah. So, once again, we're all in esports and gaming. It's a part of the culture. I think it's okay in a sense to market yourself when you are trying to be different, but you still can't take it overboard. You have to figure out a way to capitalize on your success. And if that is a certain way that they want to capitalize in their success to get more viewers on their stream, to get more subscribers, which is helping them down the road, then sure, that might be their persona, and that's the way they want their brand to be recognized. Personally, I think it's something that you have to keep out of the game completely. I'm still not a fan of, like, if my players were tweeting in between matches, I would not be pretty cool with that. Even when my guys go on like main stage to play, I used to just take their phones away because they would just get on Twitter, Facebook. They're literally looking at fans roasting them mid-match, and they have a huge map coming up. Like, we're down 1-2 in the series. They're scrolling on their feed. Oh, United sucks, blah, blah, blah. Like, why do you even want to look at that, you know? So, yeah, it's, you know, it's just the way you want to build your brand. If that's, you can do it in a professional way, though. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you can push it into the gray area. You don't go past the gray area, because that is getting fired, no sponsorships, losing all your hard work.
So I'm being told we have time for one more fantastic question. So here you go.
Hi, Burns. I'm Lyric. I play Overwatch, and I just have a question. You know, as you are an ex-pro player, I'm, you know, personally at a skill level where I'm like at the very top of amateur, but I can't quite break into like the semi-pro pro scene. And I used to be like very quick to improve and, you know, solve my own issues and like, you know, push that. But I've gotten to a point where I've kind of almost like plateaued. And I recognize a lot of things like that I'm doing wrong, but it's a struggle for me to like kind of focus on one and like, you know, knock them out and like really fix those bad habits. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think for me, trying to like compare, my gun skill and mechanics were exceptional in COD, but I didn't. My stereotype that was attached to me is that I made brain dead plays all the time, but I was really good, so I got out of those situations. So for me, in order to grow, I went back and tried to kind of balance my senses out. I tried to make sure that I was listening to my teammates and doing things that were going to lift the chart up in other areas of my intangibles. For you, it might just be a factor of time. I really mean that. If you go to bed every night pursuing professional play, it's what you want to do, and you're putting in healthy reps to get better every single day. Once again, it's not just like an overnight thing. Like for some pro players, it takes 2 or 3 years. Even if it's a baby step every single day, that's still a positive note, in my opinion. So for you, it sounds like you're super passionate about this. Keep sticking with it. Take proper notes, like try to keep track of your goals and what you're trying to improve. Watch different streams, try to find players that you relate to and see like what they do differently. Write them down, try to apply it to your own gameplay, even if it's taking you out of your comfort zone, and a good way to see like different perceptions on things where you can apply that to your gameplay and hopefully improve.
Let's give him a big round of applause and a huge thank you.
Thank you for having me, guys. Appreciate it. It's fun.